All right, we'll call the February 13th, 2023 meeting of the Lakeshore Hospital Authority Board to order. Any staff or trustee additions or deletions to the agenda and or consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, staff has no additions or deletions.
If none, I'll entertain a motion for the adoption of the agenda.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Public comments, Ms. Lindley?
Okay. My question is, why are you guys made the decision to give the building to Meridian? Why is there any further action needed? Does that need to come from you or Director Williams? You're giving it to them, you're giving it to them, as is, done deal. Providing the hang up with the parking lot, which I found is the only thing that the Masons have reverted off on. And in Dale's notes that he met with the local Masonic Lodge member, can you elaborate on what that Masonic member?
No, other than the fact that obviously because that is in those documents, it's in the title search. I, first of all, made them aware in case they didn't know. And then secondly, told them that depending on what the outcome of the authorities' actions were, we would be in touch.
And on the update with the EMS pals, I'm firmly opposed, and USA trustee took an oath to uphold it. And currently, I think the needs of the indigent community is being met by the local providers. There's other local providers that could be added. You have an agreement with Lake City Medical Center. And to me, there's no reason to pursue anything that would cost the authority money for EMS pals. They have a big house, Newberry, if you have a big house, you should be able to get your own good credits and find yourself a building and not beg off the authority. And full agreement to let the CIRC have the building under a lease. And sure, let the city of Lake City have use of the parking lot. And on here, discussion with Donnie Dupree on Director Williams' notes. What is he wanting in regards to space for the authority building?
The county has a lease on a month-to-month on the west side of this building. And they were asking to use it for temporary purposes. And so we made arrangements where they could.
And I came by here on Thursday, and the Toys for Tots woman was here, and she said she'd been using something. What's the deal with Toys for Tots?
Well, that was the space that Donnie had requested be allowed to be used in there. So at the
Is
next,
it her or is it Toys?
no, it's the county requested. I don't know what their arrangement is or what they are doing, but it was the county that made the request.
And is there any outcome as far as the storage building that Swisher wanted for the clerk's office?
No, that would be the building immediately to the north, and those have not been resolved yet.
Well, he wants it. I think you should have that too. Thank you.
There's no other public comments. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. New business, Mr. Williams, the CARC Bedoya building lease.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, let me begin by introducing or at least recognizing Mr. Stephen Bailey. Stephen is the Executive Director of CARC, and I think he's known to everybody here on this board. And also, just because there has been some time elapsed, let me just go back and briefly bring everybody up to date. Some time back, CARC requested the use of one of our vacant buildings for the purpose of creating a temporary space to relocate CARC because the CARC building, the home office, is going to be undergoing renovations. And of course, you were more than willing to accommodate, and we advised CARC that we were going to make the Bedoya building available to them, and so on and so forth. Building costs increased, contractors become harder to find. So like most people, I think the project was slowed a little bit. So we're now picking it back up. However, in picking it back up, there is a change that I am recommending, and I know that Stephen is requesting. One is the Bedoya building, because of the lead paint, asbestos, and current condition, and because they only intend to be there 6 months, is really more than they can afford to do. In other words, the cost of make ready to go over there is going to be far more than it's worth. So we wanted to ask tonight if the trustees would be willing to let CARC use the western portion of the physical therapy building. Now, there are some issues there, particularly with the mechanical equipment, which Stephen has indicated they're willing to take care of. And he understands that we're in negotiations with other parties. We believe he would be able to stay there the full 6 months before we needed it, but he understands if not, he may have to leave at whatever time it's requested. So we are asking that we move the location from Bedoya to the PT building, which means the agreement, which is in your packet, would need a couple of modifications, which we would ask, you would ask Todd to do. And on behalf of the CARC, I know they're very appreciative of what the trustees have offered. I do understand where the issues are and why they're issues. We'd like to try to get them into a building where they can get their home offices and their facilities renovated as quick as possible. And so we would like to ask the trustees to consider that.
You said that CARC would take those mechanical issues.
Yes.
Does that also mean that we would move forward with looking at raising the Bedoya building?
I wish we would. I mean, the Bedoya building has been an issue now for some time, and it's just not going away. I mean, it's just problematic every time we turn around. So it's not an agenda item, obviously, but certainly I think it's time to discuss removing that building once and for all.
Thank you. It's not going to cost the authority if they're willing to pay for those mechanical issues, and the term on here says it's month to month.
Yep.
That understanding that.
And if I may elaborate, what we have there, mechanically speaking, is we do have a unit on the roof that's going out, which may or may not be able to be repaired. We were going to replace it when we got into a permanent use for it, but I don't know what Stephen and them may want to do. But regardless, he's more than willing to entertain doing that just for the use of the building.
I make a motion that we go ahead and rent that space to them and that we demolish the Bedoya building.
Okay.
Probably need that on the agenda item.
So
Be on the
We need
agenda.
to amend your motion to remove that before a second. Yeah, it'll need to be an agenda item because of the expenditures.
Well, having a sense of the trustees, I think we'll go ahead and maybe prepare some bid documents and go ahead and move in that direction. But obviously, nothing can be done until the trustees take a formal action, and it will be an agenda item at that time.
Good, then we can vote on it next time, or have a special meeting 2 weeks from now.
I know Don's looking forward to that.
So you can- The easiest way, so if you don't have a second, just withdraw and make a new motion.
Yeah, okay, I withdraw that motion. Let me make a new motion. That we rent the therapy building, first floor of the therapy building, is that it?
West End.
West end of the therapy building,
Over here, the one-story building over here. Yeah.
yeah. To CARC. Until,
With the same terms as what was.
with the same terms as we did.
Second.
The motion is second, and further discussion. All in favor, so with an eye. All opposed, motion carried.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, Todd, Stephen, I think you're getting close, right? So we need to amend that agreement and get it approved as soon as possible. And
Okay.
Stephen, do you know Dwayne Cunning? Okay, then you can coordinate with Dwayne as far as, arrangements. I think the biggest issue is moving equipment out of there, will it not be?
And as we told, our folks will help with all that.
Okay, good.
Do we have enough room in our storage area for that?
Yeah, I think what I was gonna propose is maybe just move it to the other end of the building, at least for the time being, but whatever, there is room if we need it.
Because I think we've got some stuff in the hospital we're gonna have to store too.
Miss Laura, we just need to remember it's not only bulky, it's heavy. There's a lot of that stuff that's heavy.
I know, I've worked with a lot.
Yeah, it's just not easy to keep picking up and moving around, as you well know.
Second item, request from city.
This was something we added to the original agenda. This came up early last week. I think most of you know Terry. Terry's with the city of Lake City and does the downtown redevelopment. They have planned for April 14th and 15th, a barbecue cook-off competition, which will be over here in the park. And apparently it's gotten sort of large, it's gotten big. One of the more well-known judges, national judge, is committed to come, Myron Mixon. Oh, I really knew, I just wanted Todd to say that. So anyway,
I've got all his books if you want to read them.
they're getting information out to the participants, where to park, where to go, etc. And so I told Terry I would try to get this on your agenda tonight. They would like to use the parking areas to the east of us. The city of Lake City has a lease on most everything to the west, but over to the east, like the big paved parking lot right next to us, that's the primary one where they can place people, they can park their equipment there and their trucks and et cetera, and keep them out of the area where people actually be walking and cooking. And I realize that to do that, and I've already told Terry that we would need a certificate of insurance. We would need to have the authority designated as a lost payee and et cetera. And so with the appropriate caveats, in order to protect the authority, I would like to ask that the trustees authorize and approve the use of those parking lots publicly owned to the east of us for the barbecue festival.
This interfere with CARC or people that are leasing the.
Good. So we'll have to, as soon as possible, we'll have to designate what we can't use by Stephen and then offer the remainder.
And the other, Mercy Medical.
Yeah, they asked for that lot too, but I told them that unless Mercy Medical consented to it, the answer would be no. So I suspect whatever Stephen's going to need, it'll be out of the equation. What Mercy Medical has will be out of the equation. what's left. And I even told them about the non-paved lot here to the north of us too. It's available.
Could one of those caveats also include that they provide barbecue dinners for the staff on Friday? I'm just
Absolutely.
just thinking of use that.
There you go. I think it's a great idea.
Deal, have they asked about any of the lots to the east of us?
I told them, you know, it's amazing. I mean, this was the city asking and they did ask. And I said, well, the city already has a lease on those. So, you know,
Can't fix it.
well, I don't know that it's that. I just,
Can't fix it.
sometimes it's, you know, information's not shared within, but
So if we can have a motion to approve this pending.
The agreement of the
discussion with
dinners.
CARC and.
Oh,
recommend- That'd be appropriate.
yes, sir. And of course, if something illegal comes up, I'm gonna have to probably give Marlon a call. As y'all know, Todd represents the city. So I don't want to create a problem there, but this is pretty standard stuff. I mean, the only thing I'll be asking them to do is to review the certificate of insurance and the lost payee statement.
So move what you said.
Got a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion?
Oh, briefly, Mr. Chairman. Dale, is that specifically these parking lots included here in the letter from her?
Yeah,
These three?
but now when I respond again,
Yes, sir.
any of those that we have commitments to already will
Steve,
exclude.
Gotcha. Okay. That's,
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
aye.
All opposed, the motion carries.
Okay, an update for MPALS, emergency medical physicians at Lake Shore. Right now, the ball is entirely in our court. We have met with Dr. White, and right now, what they are expecting from us is basically a proposed agreement based on conversation that we have, and we are in the process of trying to put that together to get to them. So as it stands right now today, this is totally in our court. We are obligated to provide the next document. And of course, I have discussed this with Richard and with Todd, and we are working to get them that. So
It's moving.
it's moving. I mean, there's discussion. I had a long discussion with Dr. White Saturday. So, you know, it's not to say there's not issues, but it's not to say that it's not moving forward either.
Questions, comments?
Do you think it's solvable in the near future?
I honestly believe, Miss Lori, that what it's going to come down to is agreements made between our attorney and their attorney.
Can I ask, what do they want?
Not right. Not right now. It's just an update. We're not taking the action on it.
Okay,
But, you know, I think if we're able to negotiate from the standpoint and able to secure an agreement from our perspective, I think you and everybody else will be happy with it. I think it'd be a great service to the community. Okay, any questions about MPALS? Okay, and to the best of my knowledge, I believe that the trustees accomplished what was what needed to be accomplished in your workshop of January 31st and in your special meeting of January the 7th. Excuse me, February the 7th. Yeah, We're not going backwards. Thank you very much. Now, I received a email from Don Savoy this morning. On Meridian side, they have retained legal counsel. This is counsel that previously has worked with them to talk about transfers of property, operating agreements and those things. This is who's going to be working with them, which this is something we firmly expected they would do. And then, of course, on our side, it's going to be myself and Richard and Todd, or Todd's designee, which would be Bruce. So we are now working on the schedule. I should be able to give y'all a schedule pretty soon of when these meetings will occur and take place. We are aware of the time constraints that you asked for. I'm not prepared to say we're going to make those, but we are working toward those. Until we have one or two meetings under our belt, I don't know if this is just going to be something very routine, like we hope, or whether it's going to get more complicated than that, but it won't take but a meeting or two and we'll know. And they're in hopes, and I'm certainly in hopes on our end that we can make this as painless as possible for all parties involved.
Mr. Williams, I don't know, sure how to really frame this question, but is your idea to kind of, since we didn't really, the board didn't say this is the way we want to do it, I mean, is in your mind, is it going to come up with a plan A and a plan B to present to the board, or?
Yeah, well, Brandon, you know me well enough to know I don't much do anything without a plan B, plan C. I mean, I just think in this business, you've got to have fallback plans. But by the same token, I also kind of know from just comments made by trustees and conversations that I've had with all of you one-on-one over the past year. I know what you're looking for. I know what you expect. And I expect you'll probably give me more input before we actually have a meeting. So, you know, hopefully it goes very smooth, very well.
More lawyers we get involved, the smoother it'll be.
Amen.
Why is it I don't believe that?
Real longer.
Because we've been around too many longer.
But hey, I'm kind of looking forward to it. You know, it's been a long road. I'd like to get it over with and see where we're at.
Questions, comments?
Why is it you always look at me first?
Ladies first.
What I would suggest also, once we're finished with Meridian, the big stuff with them, that we find an equipment company that would buy used medical equipment
Yeah,
and see what we can salvage out of what we got.
sure. Well, having a plan but not actually knowing, I do know there's a certain amount of equipment that I think Meridian would ask for with the building, but it's not as much as you may think. Their needs for equipment differ quite a bit than what the hospitals were. So I'm told, but we'll get to that. And then I think when it comes to the MPALs or an emergency acute care like we're discussing, there's a certain amount of equipment that goes with that. Don't forget, though we not spend a lot of time on it, we're still working on pharmacology services. There's a certain amount of equipment in that hospital that would go with that. And then what's left, I think it's certainly wise to consider disposing of that. So we've tried to keep a list of companies who've contacted us that specialize in that. And I think we get a call a week from somebody wanting to buy equipment out of that hospital. There's no, don't seem to be a shortage of people interested in or having a need for certain things. So I think that's quite possible, Miss Laurie, that that's what would happen.
Well, when I was talking about Meridian, let them delineate what they want,
Absolutely,
and then we can pull the rest of it and start.
absolutely. By the way, they've requested access to the building, which we have no issue with that. I think they're ready to even start doing some preliminary planning from their standpoint, and we don't want to do anything to interfere with that, so. I have not yet notified Don, but I will tell Don to make arrangements through Dwayne.
Mr. Williams, if you could, please explain to anyone that may be concerned as to what your understanding that this board passed last Tuesday night as far as the motion.
And what my understanding
Yes.
was? My understanding was, is you authorized a negotiation with Meridian in order to prepare some form of conveyance, lease, deed, whatever, you did not specify. And you did not specify, though you didn't say in my mind, because there are legal constraints here, which we may or may not be able to overcome. Or it may be just decided it's an easier, better way to do it some other way. And we, of course, the basic tenements have not changed from the authority. You don't want any residual expense whatsoever. When this is done, you do not expect to have any subsidization whatsoever from the reserves of the authority.
And from your understanding that hopefully mutually agreed project still has to be approved by this board, is that correct?
Oh, absolutely it does.
Okay.
Yes.
So that did not just give the building away last Tuesday night to anybody.
Oh, no.
Thank you.
No, I mean, if either party comes back with unreasonable demands, I mean, they would kill it on their
Correct.
end if it was on our part, and you would do the same if it's on theirs.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's absolutely correct.
Any questions, comments?
I am bringing our secret weapon, Richard Powell, with me.
Hold on.
We
Oh, man.
don't have any unfinished business. Board member comments, Ms. Jansen? Should I start on the other side this time?
No comments. I made mine. Thank you.
Kennedy?
None other than don't forget your Valentine tomorrow, please.
Can you handle my not being live?
I'm just interested to see what they see when they walk in that place.
Hey, Ben.
All right. We've exhausted the agenda, so I will adjourn the meeting. 30 minutes.